Alright guys, time for part 4 of the Come Labs with Me video tutorial series, SimVRlabs. I'm Joe and I'm going to walk you through several things today. This is going to be, try to go quick, and this is going to be a lot of information thrown at you. But we got our cockpit OBJ pretty much set, and now it's time to tweak, mostly in VR. Right now I'm not in VR, but before we jump in VR, I want to make a VR config, because in this aircraft there is no VR config. So to make a VR config, I go into the root directory of my aircraft. So I'm going to go into X-plane, aircraft, and we are on the passenger version of the Let 410. And you'll notice in here there's a lot of these things that were my old cockpits as I was making modifications. This last cockpit is the one we have that we're settled on, and everything is working well on it. But you notice in this root folder of this aircraft there is no VR config, so let's make one. I can right click and I can click on new text document, because it's just a txt file is all it is, and you want to name it. You see how this is L410.acf? Whatever the ACF file name of your aircraft is the first part of the file name. So I want to name it L410 underscore VR config. Since I already told it it's going to be a text file, it'll be .txt. So L410, which is the ACF file, underscore VR config. So whatever your ACF file name is, underscore VR config. Now let's open that up with Notepad++. Now on a VR config, they always start with A1100 VR config, all caps. Capital A 1100 VR config. Now I have a valid VR config file. Now it doesn't have anything in it, but it's a valid VR config file. So if you notice, if you don't have a VR config file and you ever look at your log.txt, your X-plane log.txt, it'll always throw an error saying you don't have a VR config file. Error. Now that error won't actually do anything. It won't affect your sim ability, but it'll have that error. Well, now if you have these 3 lines, that error will go away because you have a valid VR config file. Now you can start filling it up with things. The first thing I want to fill it up with is my pilot's position hotspot, teleport hotspot, and it also fine-tunes where you spawn when you reset your pilot's position. And the same thing with the co-pilot. So I'm going to set the pilot and the co-pilot's position right now. And to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and save this for now, minimize it. And I have a Fly with Lua script that works when I jump in VR. And so let's go ahead and jump in VR here. And if you look here, and I can post this link in the description. But Sparker, this guy, his name's Bill, on the org, he has this handy Lua script that he wrote that works in VR as long as you've got the Fly with Lua NG next generation version. And it's really cool. It really does the work for you. You just kind of set your camera position, and you push check a few boxes, and it spits out all the information you need to go ahead and put in your VR config file. So let's do that now. I'm gonna get in VR here, grab my things. Okay, so what I want to do first is I want to set my position about where I want to be. So this isn't bad. I feel like I'm a little far back. So I'm going to take the arrow keys on my keyboard and just push up. And it's going to go up a little bit. And then let me push the period button. It's going to slide me forward. And I'm basically just going to try to figure out where I want to be here. Let me scoot back and reposition. I'm going to go forward just a little bit here. There, that's alright. I can reach everything. I feel like I can get everything pretty well there. Hitting my boundaries, that's kind of annoying, but that's okay. Just gotta move my seat. Okay, I feel like that's good. So what I'll do is I'll go in here, advanced menu, go to plugins. It's a Lua script, so I'll go to Fly with Lua, macros, and down here you'll see a thing that says log pilot head position window. That's it. So now I have this thing, and I can grab it here and I can hold it, I can move it around. And if I come over here and I hit enable calculating, now you see this is the X, the Y, and the Z. This is my position in the aircraft. If I hit check this, enable calculating averages, and then I hit write hotspot to file, okay, it's written a hotspot to the file. I'll show you how that works in a minute. Now I can click it again, I can uncheck it, right? And then I can grab it with my left one, and then with my right hand, I'm gonna come up to the arrow key, my right arrow key, and I'm gonna just kind of look down, center it on my shoulders, kind of look around, make sure I'm centered, make sure I like where I'm at. Then I'll let go of that thing, and I kind of like this position right here. So then I'll click enable calculating, let it settle for a second, then I'll write hotspot to file, and that's it. And I'm gonna uncheck that. Now I can click this little X up here, close it, and now what I can do is let's minimize this, and if I look in my root folder now, there's a brand new text file here called vrconfig hotspots. What I just did, just created this. Okay, let's open it in Notepad++ here, and you see these 4 things. These are my pilot's position and my co-pilot's position. It created 2 per. All right, so you see how this. Okay, so AABB is your bounding box, is what they call it. That's your circle. When you teleport and you have that blue circle, that's your circle. I would tell you what these are, but I don't really want to take the time. You can research this on your own. You can look in that vrconfig file link that I gave you earlier. That tells you all the things about all the things in the vrconfig. But I just to let you know, this is X, this is Y, this is Z, and this is the other X. So you see how this is negative 0.72? That's the far left side of your circle. This is the far right side of your circle, negative 0.12. This is the bottom of your circle, 0.29. This is the top of your circle, 0.39. So it's exactly 0.1 tall on your circle. Same thing here with the Z. It's negative 0.28 out to negative 0.22, or negative 2.8 and negative 2.2. That's your bounding box. That's your circle. Let this head position script just do the work for you because it's set up really well. What I'm looking for here, preset XYZ, this is your head position. Okay, negative 0.42 means I'm on the left side of the center of gravity, which means this is going to be my pilot side. Okay, I look here, I see negative 0.42. That's also the pilot side. It's the same thing. It's just it's another one it took. This one's 0.42, not negative, but 0.42. That's on the right side. That means this is going to be a co-pilot one. So I'm going to take the first one of these two and just highlight all this from beginning to end, copy it over to my vrconfig file, which I should have here, and I'm just going to paste it. And then I'm going to click, double click there, and I'm going to take the first one of these two, which is the co-pilot's one, and I'm going to paste it. Okay, the first one, the one that's highest in the hierarchy of your vrconfig, the one that's closest to the top, it's going to consider that your pilot's position, and it's going to consider this your default position when you reset cockpit on your first one only. If I moved this one to the front, it would load you up in the co-pilot side every time. So this is the pilot's position. So I want to just kind of label this. You can label this what you want. Pilot's position. This one's going to be co-pilot's position. Okay, now let's save it and test it. So I'll save it, go back in here, click on reload aircraft, and we'll see what we can see. That should have given us our blue boxes on the pilot side and the co-pilot side. I'll readjust my chair here. Okay. Alright, if I look, yep, I got a co-pilot side. It puts me in the co-pilot spot pretty well. Go over to the pilot side. Puts me in the pilot side really well. Awesome. Perfect. Now we got our co-pilot and our pilot's teleport hotspots. Looking good. Looking sharp. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to start tweaking through this whole thing. And what I like to do is kind of start logically inside the cockpit, okay? And what I like to do is start logically up here, okay? I like to work top down, so I'll go overhead, and then to everything on the panel, and then to everything on the console, okay? So, first thing I'll do is I'll notice that all these switches here are pretty good. They are toggles, okay? So I just come up here, and I click a toggle, and it's just going to toggle. I'm clicking on, clicking off, clicking on, clicking off. I like that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, everything's clicking on, clicking off, and working. Some of these are double, and they make sense to be double. For example, these generators, the DC and AC left hands, you can turn them on and off at the same time. On and off at the same time. You would do that with your fingers in real life. You would use two fingers on and off both of them. Battery 1 and 2, same thing over here. They've got ones that are logically together. Now, first thing I noticed that I don't like in VR that I want to change is this glass thing. It's a slide left-right to go up-down. I want to actually be able to grab that and pull it down like you normally would. Same things with these covers here. It's the same thing. It's a slide left-right on that axis. I don't like that. So what we'll do is we'll change those three to drag rotates. Now we have to find those in the cockpit OBJ in our notepad. So it's the two engine covers and the circuit breaker glass thing. I don't know what it would be called, but let's see if we can find it. So I'm going to open up my cockpit OBJ, come in here, find it. What am I doing? Cockpit OBJ. And that. And I want to search for, I know it's a drag axis, but I'm gonna just search for the word cover and see what happens. See what I can find. So we've got, let's bring that back up. Search for ISO valve cover. I don't think it's a valve cover. Not sure what that is. That might be it though. Cover man feeder. Manual feather. Cover manual feather. That's not it. Water injection. Starter. That's not it. Dry motor. That's not it. Fuse. Is that a fuse cover? Circuit breakers cover. Yeah, I bet that's it. So those are circuit breakers up there. I just looked up there. If you look, you'll see. Circuit breakers. So yeah. So that's probably it. It's a drag axis right now. What I'll do is I'll pound that out with the pound sign, so that we can still keep the. I still know, like, the values here are 0 and 1. I still know that. That's the data ref value, and I still know that this. And what I'll do is I'm going to make it a drag rotate, and I'll show you how those work. These are really fun. They're fun because they're awesome when they work right. Drag rotate. Okay. And the next thing you do when you type in what kind of manipulator it is, attr underscore manip underscore drag underscore rotate. Then I'm going to give it a hand cursor because that's what it says here, hand, and I'll keep it the same. So drag rotate hand. Now the first thing a drag rotate wants to know is its XYZ on its translation, which is right here. You go to anim trans on the animation for it. This translation rotation translation here, this is the animation for it. And it's all inside this thing here. See how it says anim begin, anim end? That means this is a chunk, and this whole chunk is dedicated to one thing, and it's this cover fuse thing. So I'll look under anim begin is going to start your animation for it. There's a translation part to this animation, and there's the XYZ for it, the first 3 numbers. So I'll give it its first 3 numbers. So I'm just copying and pasting, right? And then it wants to know the first 3 numbers on the rotate. Okay, this is the XYZ for the rotate. It's 100. So I'll copy and I'll paste it. Now the next 3 numbers, there's the first 3 numbers, XYZ translation, XYZ rotation. And now it's going to be angle 1, angle 2, and lift. Okay, angle 1 is almost certainly always gonna just be 0. Okay, you're just gonna dump angle 1 to 0. Angle 2 is usually gonna be either this number or this number. Okay, my guess is it's not gonna be 2.6. My guess is it's gonna be this one, but it could be 2.6. Matter of fact, it might be. It's hard to tell sometimes. A lot of times it goes XYZ, and this is angle 1, and this is angle 2, and then this is the 0 to 1 on the data ref. But a lot of times these two are backwards, and it actually wants this one. Let's do it by the numbers. Let's do it like it is. So let's give angle 2 2.64. All right, or let's just call it 2.64. Let's round down. We don't have to type in all those exactly. And then lift is a totally different thing for a second data ref that you can add into this thing. We're not going to do any lifts in this aircraft, and you'll rarely do any lifts at all. A lift is a thing where you can lift and go into a second data ref and do a second thing on your animation. We're not even going to go into that. We rarely ever use that. I've used it a couple times on some throttles, but it's not going to be anything we do. So lift is 0. So again, XYZ translation, XYZ rotation, angle 1 0, angle 2 here, lift is 0. And then you want your data ref range for your data ref, so it's 0 to 1. I know that because that's what it was on the drag axis, 0 to 1. And then your second data ref. Remember how I said there's a lift that does a second data ref? Well, we're not using a lift, and we're not even using a second data ref, but we have to put 2 numbers there, so we're just going to put 0 and 0, right? And then you're going to put your 2 data refs that you use. Well, the first one we know is going to be that one, right? Because that's the one that it was using on the drag axis. So that's the first one, and it's 0 and 1, we'll do the first one, and then 0 and 0, we'll do the second one. The second one, we'll just type in none. We have to type in none because we have to give it something. It could just be a bogus data ref, but I'll just type in none. Now that's a perfect drag rotate right there. I say perfect, we still have to test it because we don't know if that angle's right. It could want the other angle. So I'm going to save this, and we're going to reload the aircraft, and we'll test that dude. But one other thing that drag rotates are awesome in a lot of ways. One thing they do is they get rid of that axis line, that colored axis line. That really is distracting in VR to me. I would prefer that drag axis line not be there. The other thing it does is, especially on things like throttles, and especially for collectives on a helicopter, when you're holding a drag axis, excuse me, when you're holding a drag axis and you're being still with it, if you're holding it even just trying to hold as still as possible, there's a constant rumbling in your VR controller, and so you lose that fine ability to know whether you're moving it or not, because there's a constant, like, steady rumbling that doesn't change velocity. With a drag rotate, that you feel the vibration only as you push up, and the vibration gets harder as you push faster, and so you can really feel like little minute changes. It's just a fantastic manipulator, especially when you got it dialed in right. It's so much better than drag axis or really anything else. If it's anything with the rotation at all that you're going to be manipulating in a lever or a switch or something that you pull down, you really want it to be a drag rotate. So let's check this now. Okay, so I'm grabbing it and I'm seeing that it's, first of all, okay, so I'm pushing forward and it's going down, and I'm pulling back and it's going, so I know that it's, first of all, it's backwards. Okay, second of all, for sure,
That's way too sensitive. And the closer you are to 0 in your number, the more sensitive it is. So when you want to speed things up, you go closer to 0. You'll slow things down, you get further from 0. That tells me that our 80-something number there that we had is actually the number we want.
So let's jump back in there and change that real quick. So where are we at here? I think I moved us off of it. Let's search again for drag underscore rotate, since I know that's not it. There it is. Okay. So a couple things I can do. First of all, I'm gonna go to this number because I know this number is gonna be it, right? I know that number should dial us in at the perfect speed for it. It gets way away from 0, and it's probably gonna be the perfect speed. Second of all, I know it's backwards. Whenever you know it's backwards, the easiest way to fix it is just make this a negative. So just take that number that you know is gonna work, make it a negative, right? And I'll just save this and reload. We'll check it out now. I bet it's going to be pretty much money now. There's another way you could have done it. I don't want to confuse you guys. I just want to give you all the options. I can make this angle negative, or I could actually take this XYZ on the rotation, and I could make this XYZ on the rotation is always going to be 1, 0, 0, or 0, 0, 1, or 0, 1, 0. It's going to be 1, 1, and 2 zeros in your set of 3. Wherever the 1 is, if you negative it, you reverse everything. So I could change the angle of that, or I could have reversed this 1 to a negative 1, and it would have done the same thing.
But let's reposition here, reach up, grab it, and see how that works. It's like perfect. It's following. I mean, look at my VR controller and look at the tip of it, and look how nicely it follows it. And I feel just that vibration of it. It's fantastic. So that's money now, okay? And we want to do the same thing for these. We got to find those covers.
So we are going to go back to cover search here, type in cover. We'll look for those. It may be these ISO valve covers. What is this?
Let's see. Engines. It's just labeled engines. So
let's change those and see what happens. So I'll come in here, pound it out. I'm just gonna do one of them, see if it works. ATTR, and then I can find it here. Drag, rotate, go hand on the translation. We'll go. Yeah, these. It's weird how this has like a double translation, but there's like no numbers, so I'm not gonna trust it. I am gonna trust this one though. We'll go these 3 numbers on the translation. These 3 numbers on the rotation. Okay. I'm gonna go 0, probably 55, and 0 on the lift. And then I know that my data ref range here is 0 to 1, so 0 to 1, and then 0 to 0 on the other data ref that we're not going to use. This is the data ref that manipulates it. And I'll type in none, and I'll save it, reload it. And then we'll check it, we'll see if that's even the right cover. I think it is, because I know the feather ones are down on the console. Okay. Yep, that's it. It's just backwards. Feels about right too. Maybe a little fast. It's just backwards. Okay. So go back into here. We'll go negative 55, and then I'll come in here and I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna pound this one out. I'm gonna paste it, and then I'm gonna redo these. That over here. rotation's the same, 100, and then I'm gonna say -55 again. We'll just leave that. Then I'll make sure I change this data ref to 2. It's gonna be valve 2 cover. Save it, and then we'll reload it and check it.
So there's a lot of this kind of stuff, a lot of changing things to drag rotates, but once we get these two dialed in, we'll be done on the overhead. We'll go to the panel. That one's money, and that one's money. Those are great. Those are actually just a little bit quick, so
I'm gonna make them slow them down just a bit and then move on. So 55, the higher, remember, the further you get away from 0, the slower it goes. I'm just a little bit quick, not too much. So I'm gonna make these about 70, and I bet they'll be just bang on. I bet they'll be perfect. I'll leave those at 70, and let's move on to the next thing. So I'm gonna
jump back in here, and then we'll be good on that. And then the next thing I want to do is next thing I want to do is these GPS knobs. Okay, so it's got there's like a right side and a left side, and they're not knobs that you can turn. They're things that you click, and every time you click them, it goes up or down, like by 1. So I want to change that to a knob. I'm not sure. I think those are deltas. If I click and hold, yeah, it's not moving much. Maybe they're just commands.
I'm gonna see what they got, and we're gonna change them to knobs. Okay. So let's do a search for GNS. Usually get you something. GPS G430. G430. Alright, fine up. Yep, they just got them as commands. So this mesh here, it says 18. 18 is the little green click spot. Tries is the click spot. Anytime it's a try, it's a click spot. Okay, and the 18 means how many triangles are in the click spot. So this nav2 standby has 30 triangles in it. It's a little more of a complex mesh than this 18. Sometimes you can figure out what's what just by looking at that. I know that this standby frequency megahertz knob is 378. That means it's a pretty complex mesh. It probably has ridges and everything else. It's probably a circle. So if I'm looking for something that's a square, I'm not sure if it's what it is. I know that's not a square. I know that's a complex mesh, so that's not the square. So that's just another tip for you. These fine up, page up, chapter up, course down. What I want to do is I want to make them all knobs, okay? So that way when you grab, whether you grab the left side or the right side, they're both going to function the same and be knobs that you can turn with your wrist. Or in 2D, you would be able to use your mouse wheel. Okay, so I want to make this a manip command knob. Okay, I'll leave it rotate small. And it says rotate small right. I don't actually want that. I want it to be rotate small, so it gives me arrows in both directions when I'm using my mouse in 2D. And fine up, and then we'll do it again. So I'll click copy and paste and make this one fine down. I want to make sure you actually write the word down. Sometimes it's DN, sometimes it's the full down. So you want to look for what it is. GPS fine down. Okay. So this is one of the sides of the fine up and the fine down. Okay. And there's another one that's a fine, that's going to be a fine down. That's also the side of the fine up, fine down. Makes sense? So that's the small. So I want to give that one both also and make it a knob. Basically, I want to take this entire line, copy it, and I want to paste it here. Fine up, fine down, this would be probably the left side of the knob, and this would probably be the right side of the knob. Same thing here. Page courses go together, so we'll make this a knob, command underscore knob, and this is a course, command underscore knob. Okay, get rid of that. Course down. It's probably gonna be up first. Usually up means go to the left and down to the right, so I'll take this one and just do that. And now both sides of my course knob are done. That's a toggle, 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 fine down, fine up, course up, chapter and page, here we go. So it's usually page up, page down, but we need to see if it's page DN. See how this one's page DN? That's the deal, is you have to know what you're doing. So page up, page DN, make sure we change it to a knob, make sure we get rid of the right on that cursor. Okay. Then I want to find the other one that's a page. I'm going to copy the whole thing to it. There it is. It's the other side. Page. Right? And then chapter up. It's going to be chapter up, chapter down. Let's make sure it's chapter DN. Yep, DN. And then make sure it's a knob. Take small. Copy. Paste. That's a knob. Alright, so we got knob, page up, page down, knob, knob, course up, course down, knob, course up, course down, knob, fine up, 5 down, page, chapter. Okay, that should be it. I'll save it. I'll go reload aircraft and art. I'm in beta 7, by the way. Today it just came out. So everything seems to be going fine in beta 7. That creakiness that you hear, I've got this folding chair that I keep sliding back and forth on my carpet. I hate that blue bounding box that Oculus has, so I try to stay away from the boundaries. So I'm going to take and I'm going to grab this and rotate left. You see it going down. Rotate right. You see it going up. That's working fine. Left. Right. Okay, that's working fine. I'll check the other side of this knob since we're actually doing everything. I'll just grab, make sure we're good. So those sides were good. Check this one. That's going left and right. That's fine. And that's going over and left and right, and that's good. Okay, there we go. Now it's got a wrist rotation and everything. Now they're fast, and we're going to tune the speed in a little bit, but I got what I wanted to get on those knobs. Let's see what else we got going on here. We've got this guy, and he's not doing anything. That's our standby altimeter. This one is an axis. Oh, this one's an axis. This one's an axis. Those are just toggles. That's an axis. That should be a knob. Okay, so we've got all these axes that should be knobs. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to change those to knobs, but not in the cockpit OBJ. The cool thing about the vrconfig is you can override axes on knobs and change them to knobs only when you're in VR. When you get out of VR, you get back into 2D, it goes back to axes for people that like to just click and drag on an axis line to change their stuff in 2D. So that's great. We could have it both ways with the vrconfig. I'll show you how. So I'm gonna jump into our vrconfig file and we'll start doing what I call, close that, we don't need that anymore, doing what I call axis to knob conversions. When I want to label stuff, I just put some pounds around it, and then I know that X-Plane won't try to read that line because there's a pound in front of it. It'll just look over it. So I want to start every manipulator um, that I work with begin underscore manip, right? And then I want to do something, and then after I do something, I want to do end manip. Okay. So I gotta find out what knob I want to actually change. So what we'll do is we will look for um, drag axes. I'm just going to search for drag axes. What we're looking is for drag axes that have a rotate something here on the cursor. That is a dead giveaway that that drag axis is actually working a knob. Okay, and what I'll do is I'm going to copy this whole line, Control C, and I'm going to put it in the vrconfig down at the bottom. Okay, I'll show you why in a little bit. And then we'll go to the next one, drag axis, rotate, boom, I want that one. And I'll put it in there. I'm just going to start filling this up with all of my knobs that are on an axis. That way we can tune each one of these for speed. And we can override the axes and make them knobs. That's exactly what we want. That's an up-down. See how that's an up-down? So chances are that is not a knob most of the time, but I'll look and see what it is. Artificial horizon adjust. I saw that was a knob. Okay, that's that thing that adjusts that little artificial horizon up and down. And that is definitely a knob, so we will grab that one too. Left, right, it's a barometer. I know that's a knob, so I'll grab that one too. Altimeter, yep, we want that. Prop heat. Parking brake is not a knob. Leave that one alone for now. Dial VVI FPM, that's going to be a knob for sure. That's going to be your pressurization altitude knob. Those are pounded out, we don't need those. Transponder mode, yeah. That will be for sure a knob. This one, knob. This one, knob. Taxi landing. That's not a knob, it's a landing light. Lever. Mixture, nope. Nope. Throttle. Cover. Nope. Cover. Nope. Cover. Cover. Here we go. Transponder stuff. Okay. So you can see that I'm starting to repeat, and so you want to check that so you don't just keep going. I can delete these two. These were the first two I started with, starting to repeat, because I've got this set to wrap around when I search, so just keep on going is what it has us set to do. So that is all of my drag axes. Now what I want to do is I'm going to look at another cockpit OBJ that I've done so I can show you what it looks like when you do an override on those. I think pretty sure the Twin Otter has a bunch. So we'll look at the vrconfig of the Twin Otter. Let's see, where's my overrides? Here we go. So this is what an override looks like. Okay, begin manip, and then you tell it what you're gonna, which manipulator you're doing. So manipulator type followed by its data ref. Okay, and then action axis knob means begin manip drag axis. Find this drag axis. Action axis knob means change it to an axis knob. Okay, this -1000 is the bottom of the data ref, 1000 is the top of the data ref, and 1 is how many steps you want each click to change it. And then this is the data ref that you wanted to change. So I could literally override this drag axis and this data ref with make it a knob to do anything I want. I can make it a knob to do something totally different, a totally different data ref if I wanted to. But you hardly ever do want to change it to anything else. You want to keep it the same, just you have now the ability to step it however you want to step it, with whatever kind of velocity you want. And then degrees per action is the rotation of your wrist degrees that it takes to step it one step of this number. Okay, so like a knob, like a knob that would be smooth is a heading dial. That would be a smooth knob, a smooth rotation, changing a bunch of things as you roll your wrist. But like a mode type knob is going to be like a knob that just jumps to like 3 or 4 modes in like a big wrist rotation. Okay, like a selector knob. That's where this one would be degrees per action 150. So like every 150 degrees it would jump over to the next thing. This is 0 through 5. So this is a knob that's set in 5 steps. There's 5 steps to it, 5 positions. It's a 5-position knob, and every 150 degree wrist rotation it'll go to the next one. That 150 is about a good number for a mode knob or a selector knob. I call them mode knobs. And then dials are usually 0.01, and then degrees per action to start with. A good one is like 4 or 5. So that's how it's set up. So the first thing we'll do is we'll come in here, we'll go to begin manip, and then we want to make all these manips or drag axes. So we'll go begin manip, drag axis, and then you have to give it its data ref. So the manipulator here, this is the data ref. So drag axis to that data ref, and then we're going to make it action, all caps, axis underscore knob. And now we want to find the bottom of the data refs right here, -720. -720 to 720. And now 360 degrees times 2 is 720. So that means that it usually wants to jump in steps of 2. If you jump in steps of 2, it'll probably jump 1 degree every time you jump, which is what you want. So in steps of 2, and then the data ref you want it to fire, which of course is going to be this one. And then the next thing you want to do is give it degrees, DEG underscore per underscore action, ACT. Degrees per action, and we'll set that to about 4. We'll leave it there. Okay. Now what I like to do, if that one's done, is I'll backspace that one to get rid of it. Okay. These are not going to be in our vrconfig. These are just for reference. They're quick. They're a way to do this quickly. Okay. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste like 10 of them. I'm going to leave a space in between each one. Okay. And then I'm just going to come in here and start overriding things. So I know this one's the second one down. I'll put that there. I'll put that there. And I know that it was 720 and 720 as well, so I can leave it all, and that's the same, and that one's done. Okay, come in here, delete it, get my data ref, and I can look, this one's 0 to 1. Okay, so that's gonna be a smooth manipulator, I think. Ice prop heat on. Let me jump in here and try to find that.
Let's see, where's my prop heat? Windshield heat, prop de-icing. Okay, that's literally a manipulator. To the right or back. So it's almost like a toggle.
So that's going to be like 150 on my degrees per action. It's not going to be smooth. That being said, yeah, no, we'll do that. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. Go up to my third one down. Put those in. Put that in there, put that in there. And then I know it's 0 to 1. And I'm going to do it in steps of, just call it 1 really. Because I'm going to give it 150 on the action. That means it's going to feel like it takes a little bit of effort to click it over. Okay. So now we'll delete that one. That one's done. Grab the data ref. Make a note of what my 0 to whatever is. It's 0 to 0.6. Okay. 0 to 0.6. It's a light knob. All right. So I'll come in here. This one is going to be like a smooth knob. That's going to be 0. Most of the time, the smooth knobs are 0 to 1. Alright, but 0 to 0.6, and I'm going to give it a 0.01. Any of my smooth knobs that are 0 to 1 or something like that, like this is 0 to 0.6, but we'll treat it like a 0 to 1, is I'll do it in steps of 0.01. That'll give it a nice smooth roll. And then I'll leave it at degrees per action 4. And we'll change that if it's a little too slow. Alright, so light knob is done. We'll just keep on rolling here. -10 to 10. Alright. Well, it's -10 to 10. Do it by we'll call it 0.25. That'll be kind of smooth. That'll be 40, it'll take 40 clicks to go to the top, 40 clicks to go to the bottom, if you do the math there. We'll leave that at 4. Baro setting in HG, that's our barometer. And that's 20 to 40. To 40. Definitely want that to be 0.01. Definitely want that to be 4 for now. 0 to 2000 on the radar altimeter, right? Radar altimeters can be a little bit tricky. Like to go steps of 10 on those. 0 to 2000. Steps of 10. Leave that at 4 for now. Check and see how that feels in a bit. Prop heat. We've already got that one. So we've already got that one. I'm not gonna do it again. If you do, if there's 2 prop heat knobs, but they use the same data ref, then you only need to do it once in the config. This one's -5000 to 5000. Okay, over here. -5000 to 5000. Now think about what this is. That is our pressurization, our cockpit pressure dial. So -5000 to 5000. I'm gonna say in steps of, let's just say 100, and see where that puts us. I might even want to go down to 50 feet per minute steps. Yeah, we'll do that, 50. Okay. Transponder mode. Mode tells you right off the bat it's a mode switch because it has the word mode in it, and it's 0 to 2, so it's a 3-position switch, 0, 1, and 2. Okay. So I'm gonna come in here to this one, put its data refs in. Okay, 0 to 2. It's a 3-position switch, and I know I want to do a 1 each time, 1 step each time, and I want to give that one 150. Okay. I can get rid of that dude. Frequency hertz. So it's a frequency. And it's 0 to 1799 on the ADF. And I want to do that by ones. Okay. 0 to 1799. Right here. To 1799, and that's your ADF frequency for an NDB. Those are always in steps of 1 because you could get all kinds of weird numbers. You got to be able to reach them all. So same thing with this one. That was ADF 2. This is ADF 1. It's the same deal. So I can copy these 3 numbers like that. Paste them right there. Alright. Now what I want to do is delete that. See how many left I got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we'll do that again. As we'll copy. Paste 10 more. Okay. Then that should give us all of our conversions. That's 0 to 7. So transponder. Okay. Trying to think of how many steps I want to do this in. Transponder 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is the one, probably the ones position, the tens position, the hundreds position, and the thousands position. So the ones position will probably be in steps of ones, the tens position will probably be in steps of 10, steps of 100, and steps of 1,000. So this one's going to be the ones position, right? So come up here, take the second one down here. And we'll go 0 to 7 by 1. That's a guess. We'll change that if it's not working out. This one's by hundreds, so go 0 to 700 by 100. This one's by tens, 0 to 70. This one's by thousands. Go to 7,000 by 1,000. Delete that. Make sure we're still recording, which we are. That would be bad. Okay. Frequency megahertz 118 to 136 by ones, of course. .118 is the bottom, 136 is the top of your megahertz by 1. Done. Now this one's kilohertz, and it's 0 to 995. 0 to 995, and my guess is by 5. Okay. It's just math, right? Same thing here. 108 to 117, that's going to be your nav frequency. To 117 by ones. Zero to 95, probably by 5s as well. Zero to 95 by 5s. This one actually might be by 50, but let's roll with it like it is right now and check it. Okay, this one's actually 1 to 0, alright, which means it's 1 is actually the bottom of it, 0 is the top. So we'll look at that. Brightness ratio, that's gonna be a brightness knob for lights. So we'll go 1 to 0. Steps of 0.01. Remember, it's a smooth knob. That's how we do smooth knobs. Right? And then standby frequency here on the nav 2 is 108 to 117 by steps of 1. To 117 by steps of 1. And I like that on 4. And we'll delete that. And there we go. There's all of our access to knob conversions. I'm going to save it, and then we'll jump into X-Plane, and if we have any mistakes or typos or whatever, it will give us a VR configure, and if it does, that's pretty typical at this stage of the game. That means you probably are missing a letter, or you've done a typo, or if you've done a typo, it's looking for, in that begin manip line, it's looking for a manipulator that it can't find in the cockpit OBJ. I haven't done any typos here. You can see that I'm looking good. Now I want to go and I want to test these knobs. Okay, so there's a light knob here. Now that one's pretty good. That one feels good. Check this one on the speed on that one. All right, that one actually. You see how it's jumping and freaking out? It's because it's backwards. Okay, it's on that. Let me think here. Yeah, I think it's just backwards. We'll fix that in a little bit. So here's my heading. Heading's rolling nice and smooth now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's actually, so I want to count when I do this. I count how many clicks it's doing in my thing, and I can tell you that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It takes 5 clicks to go 10 degrees here. So that's 10 degrees, and it's getting there in 5 clicks. That means I need. Remember, I'm 720 to 720, and I did it in steps of 2. I actually need to go down to steps of 1. Okay, same thing with here, with the course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, same deal. So I'll change those and go down to steps of 1 on those. So we've got 3 things that we've already found we need to change, so let's do it before we forget it. So let's find the OBS, that's this one. Instead of 2, we'll go 1. Instead of 2, we'll go 1. And then any others that are 720, we need to be at 1. And I don't see any more that are 720, so those are good. The light knob, there's light knob, and there's another one that's brightness ratio. I'm not sure which one is which. This one's 1 to 0. Let's change that to 0 to 1 instead of the way they had it. Maybe they just had it backwards on the axis. Let's reload the aircraft here. We'll check it. I think maybe they just had that backwards on the axis, and if you have it backwards, it wants to, you want to rotate left, but it wants to go right, and it just freaks out and it starts to flicker out. So if you ever have that, that's what's going on. So I'm going to scoot way back here, reposition, and let's see.
That one's good. There we go. Now they're both good. Right? It feels just a smidge fast, so we'll slow. They're both a smidge fast. We'll slow those down. Now check the heading here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, perfect. And then course. And I think that's actually a really good speed too. Yep, it's fine. Check this one. Yep, that one's good. It's actually backwards. You notice the animation's backwards when I roll left. Okay, let me tell you how to fix that. If you go into your vrconfig file here, and you find that one's going to be the artificial horizon. The degrees per action is 4. If I make that -4, it allows you to reverse the rotation of the manipulator. So if you find your manipulator is going backwards, a lot of people have a tendency to want to like change the bottom of the thing to 1 and the top to 0. Change the data ref values and all that. You don't have to do that. Just go to your degrees per action and flip it to the reciprocal. Make it negative. So, where are we at here? This guy. And that was still running backwards. So we may have to actually, and that may just be the animation. No, that's wrong. So we may have to go and actually flip the data ref on that too. So let's make it 10 to -10. Check that. Minimize this so you can see it. So yeah, there's a lot of reloading. SimVRlabs is actually Swahili for reloads a lot. Okay, so now it's doing the flicker thing, so it's because probably because my degrees are backwards. Try that. Nope, it doesn't like that reversal. Doesn't like that data ref reversal. Which is fine. I actually think it's fine. I think it's just the animation is backwards. And I'm not gonna show you how to do animations right now. That's a whole different deal. We'll just leave it like it is because it's really not that big of a deal, man. I mean, we'll reload that and that'll be fine now that I've changed it. What else we got here? We got this. We know that works. We need to tune those. I'll show you how to do those. Those are way too fast. That is actually a drag axis that we do not have in there. Windshield heat. Okay. I'll have to change that. And that's my prop de-ice. And that's super sensitive. It's working well, it's just super sensitive. Remember, that's the one that's just 1 and 0, and I did it by ones. So, I may... Let's find that prop ice one. Prop de-ice. 0 to 1 by ones. Degrees per action. Let me jump that all the way up to 1200. As much and as sensitive as that was, we'll check and see if that makes a difference. If not, I may actually double that, so I may like make this 0.5 to make it take 2 clicks to go over. Since it's just it's basically a toggle. And the other one is not actually on there, and that was what was it, windshield? Window? Let me look one more time.
windshield heat. So windshield heat. So let's go into the cockpit OBJ and try to find that windshield heat one. Search, find, windshield. Okay, wind. Here we go. Ice window heat. That's a command axis. That's why we didn't see it. So a command axis fires a command, not a data ref. It means it needs to be a command knob. Okay. I can't actually override a command axis to make it a command knob in the VR config. So we're gonna make it a command knob in the cockpit OBJ. So I'm just gonna type in knob here. So instead of command axis, it's the command knob. I don't need an XYZ. At all. So I can delete those because those don't even matter. And then what it's going to do is going to have two data refs. Usually it's like an up down or an on off. This is a window heat on, window heat off. Okay, so when it goes to the right it's on, when it goes to the left it's off. And that's it. So now it will be a knob instead of an axis, and you'll be able to turn it. Now I need to tune that. There's other command knobs I need to tune are the GPS knobs. Let's go ahead and get these into the VR config as well. Right? So I'll come in here, I'll do a pound sign because I want to label these, and I'll call them command knobs. Right? And we'll give it this one. What I want to do is I want to type in command underscore knob and search in here. There's one for wipers. And all of our GPS ones. The reason I'm skipping some of these is because a lot of them are duplicates. I've got my page, I've got my chapter, I've got my course, I've got my find. Those are all the ones I need. I don't need all the rest of them. Remember how we duplicated them because it's got duplicate click spots, but I think that's all. It's probably going to be all of them. Let's see. Window heat, wipers, and GPSs, yeah. So with these, it's just going to be where are we at here? Oh. Yeah, that's the Twin Otter. We don't want that. Okay. So with these, it's going to be the same thing, except without the action thing, because we're not actually converting anything. Okay. So it's begin underscore manip, and then what is it? Command underscore knob. And then I don't care about rotate medium, I don't care about the cursor, I do care about the data refs. So those are my data refs. And then I want degrees per action. We'll call it 10. Okay, I want to give these all a slower one. And then end manip. I can tell you the GPS ones are going to be about 30 on their degrees per action, just because I've done so many of them that that's the sweet spot on them. This window heat on and off, that's like there's not much going on there, so that one's going to be kind of higher too. It's not really a smooth knob, so I'm going to call that one 100 for now. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more times. Delete that one, only needed it 5 more times, but we'll do copy the data refs. Do that one. Do these data refs. Do that one. This one. Here. This one. here, and don't need this one. Don't need these anymore. Okay. Now I'm going to give these all their degrees. I'll leave those two at 100 since I know what they are. They're not smooth, they're mode knobs. I'm going to put all these GPS knobs at about 30. Okay, and now I'm going to save it. And since we've last checked, there's been a lot of changes. So let's go ahead and check through all of our changes here.
Reload. Now you'll probably have noticed that it keeps loading me pretty far back. That's because I keep scooting back. It's confusing to the thing. So it says there's a minor problem parsing the VR config. That means I have some sort of typo going on somewhere. Okay, so I'll go understood, reload, and then let me check and see if these are even working. Okay, so that still seems, that one seems pretty fast. That one seems pretty fast on the rotation. That one's fast too. So these, the command knobs, degrees per action is not working on those. That did not change. The windshield heat did not change. And that's still, so basically nothing has changed. Let's see why.
What did I do wrong? This is my VR config. Begin manip, command knob. Find out. Okay, let's open. Let's see if I see if I did this wrong by looking at a different aircraft. Maybe I'm doing something wrong here. I know there's some command knobs in pretty much all of these. We'll look at the Twin Otters VR config here. Here we go. Begin manip command knob, 2 data refs, degrees per action, and manip. Okay, so we're not doing anything wrong. We've got it all correct. So why did that not work? Sim GPS unit. Let's see. Okay, so you can go into your log.txt. Go all the way to the bottom until it shows that error. And scroll up, and I'm looking for where it says something about the VR config. On the reload. Here we go. There's a minor problem. Could not find matching manipulator for command knob, sim ice, window heat on, window heat off. Okay. So it's not finding that command knob. Alright, so let's go into our cockpit OBJ and see why. Okay, the reason it's not finding the command knob for that is because we changed it to the command knob, but if you notice this blue save thing is not saved, so I forgot to save it. So I'm going to save it, I'm going to reload it, and then we'll check it. That being said, my GPS degrees per action still seemed really quick, so I don't think these are actually working the way they should for some reason, so we'll check it here in a minute. Let's minimize this now that we've reloaded and see what we got. Alright, I don't have an error, so that's good. And let me scoot back so you don't keep getting in that bounding box. Alright.
Yeah, it's still really quick. Yeah, it's still super quick. Like, even if I, like... Yeah. And click direct to. Like, yeah, it's way too quick for me to even do anything. Let's check these. That's not an axis anymore. That's a knob. That's what we want. It's rolling nicely. Yeah, that one, I remember I changed to 1,000, but it's still just the littlest degrees jumps it over because it's going from 0 to 1 by 1, so there's literally nothing. The second it feels like it's moving, it's going to jump over, so I'll change that to a lesser jump on that. And then I'll raise these and see if I can slow them down a little more. Maybe 30 is like still way too quick for these. So let's get back into the VR config. Shoot, let's raise these to 100. They're gonna be so quick and twitchy. And let's see, where was it? 0. Yeah. Let's make this point. Let's make this 0.5. Okay. And we'll reload. See if that slowed the GPS knob down. And if it slowed that other knob down. There we go. Much, much, much better. Okay. Still really quick on the page. Let's see, cursor, rotate down. Yeah, I could do it. It's just, it's not nearly as quick as it was, but it's still quick. So we'll keep tweaking on that, making that better. This one, yeah, there we go. That's better. Okay. Okay, chapter and page are the ones that are giving me more trouble. These were a little bit fast still, so I'll go to 150. But these were way better, so good there. These ones, I feel like I almost need to go to like 400 if they're even doing it. Check that. Yeah. Doesn't seem to be working. Doesn't seem to be slowing it down at all. For some reason. This side for sure. This side's much, much better. But that side, this side is pretty much unmanageable. I'm not gonna sit here and chase that down forever. There's gonna be something weird that fixes that I'll keep playing around with, but I'm not gonna subject you to it. We're gonna move on. That's a toggle. Okay, so let's go to parking brake here. You see how that's a pretty nice rotation on the drag axis. I think I'm just gonna leave it. Let me go over here to the co-pilot. We can grab it, move it up and down. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I could rotate that, and I probably will. Let's just go ahead and rotate it.
I could leave that. It feels almost bang on, but it's got that line, and like I said, I hate the line. I could make it better. Let's just do it. Parking, brake, brake. There it is, park brake. Okay. Drag axis, pound that out. Go down here, drag rotate, and translation, rotation. Angle 1, 0, angle 2, 71, angle 3, 0. So that's 71, that's where I got that. Then it's 0 to 1, 0, 0 on the second data ref, because there is no second data ref. First data ref is this one, the second data ref is none, and then I'll save it. Okay, that's gonna work fine.
That's how quickly I can go, and I can fix that. Okay. Now I want to do the same thing. I'm gonna keep going down to the console here, and do the same thing with these shut-off valves. Whatever they are. Whatever these buttons are. It's a cover, so we'll do a cover. Alright, this elevator trim. So these covers, elevator trim, we've got mixture, we've got prop, we've got throttle. We've got these covers, right? These covers are drag axes. Those three covers. What are these? We've got flaps or drag axis, gears, fine, and these knobs. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. I want to check these knobs because we've tuned these knobs. We've set them to 4. Remember? So I can check them. Yep. I know it's hard to see, but that's fine. 4 is a little quick, a little twitchy. We'll slow those down. This is pretty good. I know that seems a little twitchy, like it's gonna be. Nah, that's about perfect. I mean, I want to be able to do a big chunk in a quick wrist rotation to go to, like, so say I want to go to 460. Let's see how hard that is to land right on it. Yeah, it's not bad. Same thing there. Yeah, that one's working fine. So all these knobs here seem to be working fine. It's a upper and lower, upper and lower, and upper and lower. Well, no, those are the same. This one is a upper and lower, and this one's an upper and lower. So it's the lower is the first number on the transponder, and then the upper is the second, and then the third is the lower, and then the fourth on that side. So, okay, we are almost done. We're almost done with this entire aircraft. Let's do these drag rotates, and we should be money.
So I'm gonna come in here, search and find. Drag axis. Let's look through these drag axes again. Valve cover, we know those are the other covers. Transponders, we've already done. Taxi landing light.
Where is that at? Gotta be up here. Light. Landing. Search. Landing. Search light. Landing. Okay. That's a drag axis. We didn't get that one. So let's go ahead and make that a rotate too.
Okay. That's pretty good on the drag axis right now, but I don't like the lines, so we're gonna make it a rotate. Because that's how we do things here. Then it's 1, 0, 0, angle 1, angle 2, lift, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. There's our data ref. Call it none. Alright, that one's done. Let's go to our next one. Mixture, here we go. I'm gonna pound out this is mixture ratio all, that's the middle one. Go to rotate, and translation 1, 0, 0 on the rotation, 0, negative 32, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, all, and then none. Alright, next one down. This one. What I'll do is, since this one's so similar, is I'll copy this, drag rotate here. I'll pound this one out. Almost missed this one. Pound this one out. Give it the same thing. It's all the same thing because this one, the all, I remember I nested the all in with this guy. So these are all the same numbers. I just want to make sure I change the data ref on this one to be the 0, which is your left handle. Okay. And then I'll copy this one and I'll put it here. See if the numbers are the same. They're close but not the same. You can see this X value is a little different. So I'll change that to what it is, 0.0000420. Then everything else is the same. And I'll change this from 0 to a 1 because that's what it is. And there's my mixtures done. Now we'll do the props. So it's TTR, manip, drag, rotate, and translation XYZ. Rotation XYZ is 1, 0, 0. Angle 1. Angle 2. And lift is 0. And the rotation on it's 83 to 219 is your data ref. And then 0, 0 is your second data ref. And there's your first data ref, and none is your second data ref. I'll copy this. And I'm going to pound out the all. Copy it there. I want to make sure I put the correct data ref in. This is to do both of them at the same time. And I'll check the translation because it's probably going to be different. Get these 3, and I'll replace these 3 with the real ones. Make sure everything else is the same, which it is. Copy this one. Pound out this guy. Change this. Do a quick check of the numbers. Numbers look good. Let's keep going. Here's some covers. We know those covers are on the console. They're feather things. So we'll change these. Back rotate. Hand. Translation. Rotation. Angle 1. Angle 2, negative 359. Let's see what that does at negative 360. Lift is 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. data ref, none. Alright. And then we will cover water injection, same deal. Make a mistake, just undo it. 100, just type it in. 100, 0 on the angle 1. We'll call it 90 on angle 2 because we got it right there. And then 0 to 1, 0, 0. Let's see, 100, 0 angle 1, 90, 0, 2, and the lift is 0. Don't forget that. Then 0 to 1, 0, 0. And data ref. Make sure you don't have the space. Make sure you get a space there. And then none. Okay. That one's that one. And then here's the starter cover, same deal. And translation, X, Y, and Z. Rotation, 1, 0, 0, 0, negative 90, 0 on the lift. 0, 1, data ref range, 0, 0, that's the other data ref range, none. Okay. Dry motor cover, these covers, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Zero, 0, negative 90, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. Dry motor cover data ref, none. Now, this transponder, frequency, throttles. We need to do throttles. Right? Pound up that guy. Rotate. And translation, rotation, 0, negative 20, call it 23 and a half. Negative 23 and a half, 0, and then 0 to 1, 0, 0. And this is the all. And none. And that dude, copy because it's nested in with this guy. It's gonna be the same exact numbers except for the data ref. There we go, that one's done. This one, just do it again. Probably could have copied it, but whatever, we can do it quickly enough. 1, 0, 0, 0, negative 23 and a half, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, throttle 1, and none. Alright, I want to save that, and cover fuse I've already done, and that's it. So I've just changed a bunch of things to drag rotates that were axes. Covers and throttles and mixtures and everything. And that's how you do it if you know what you're doing. And I hopefully narrated it enough to where you learned how that's done. And you can take an aircraft that's just all jacked up on its levers and fix it for VR pretty quickly by doing exactly what I just did. Now we'll test it all because we may have some that are backwards, some that are too slow, too fast, whatever. First check the lights. Okay, that's working perfectly. Look how that just rolls right, just about perfect. Right, see that? We'll go with throttles here. Left side throttle forward. That's a little bit fast. Okay, right side throttle forward a little bit fast, and that's a little bit fast. We'll check the props. Props look good. Now props,
I might have to see what's up with the props, because something's going on with the animation where I can pull the animation back, but the data ref stops. It's like, I'm not sure, and I'll have to ask the developer where it's supposed to stop. That may be just how it is. It may just be a small little movement, but that's kind of how it's always been since I've been working on it. We'll check these. That's following my hand perfectly. Mixtures of money on the following. Props are money on the following. Throttles are a little fast. I would say even those are just a little fast, so we'll slow the lights and throttles down. Check these covers. Oh, these covers are... Those are beautiful. Those two are beautiful. This one, that's a little slow. So I'm not sure what these are, which ones these are, but those are a little slow. Those are actually a lot slow. So it's working well. It's just slow. We gotta also do this elevator trim and flaps. So let's slow down throttles, slow down lights. I'm gonna try to figure out what covers those are, and then we can slow those down, or we can speed those up. So slow down lights, slow down throttles, and speed up these covers, and then we'll do the trim and the flaps, and we're pretty much done. Okay, so let's do a search for covers. Cover. Alright, we know it's not the fuse. We know it's not the ISO valves, those are the engine up the overhead. Manual feather. Let's see. The movie's over so you can see what I'm also doing in VR. Let's see, is it the manual feather? Shut off valve, what's that say on it? Oh, manual feather, it is. It says manual feather. Boom, that's it. So we want to speed that up. So I've got it at negative 360, way too slow. We'll go down to negative, call it 70, right? That feels like, that's gonna feel better. Let's do landing lights. So land, taxi, landing lights, here we go. Those were a little fast at negative 55. I can raise that number to slow it down. Remember, further away from 0, the slower you go. So I'll raise that to about 70. And then I want to slow down the throttles too, so I'll just type in THRO, and here we go, here's our throttles. I'm at negative 23.5, I was a little quick, so I'll go to probably negative like 40, and this one negative 40 on the other one, we'll go 40 here. Okay, and those are probably pretty much money. They may need a little bit more tweaking, but I think we're pretty good there. The next thing I wanted to do is do a drag rotate on the trim, on the elevator trim. So we'll go to elevator trim, there it is, and it's a drag axis right now. I'm going to pound that out, make it a drag rotate, and translation. Rotation is 100. Now, this is where it gets a little weird, because the elevator trim, you want it to rotate slowly with your hand. So sometimes you have to go with some really big numbers with this angle 2. Angle 1, 0, angle 2. The keyframe at negative 0.1 is negative 200. These rotation keys sometimes get a little weird. So let's go ahead and start with negative 200. We're probably going to have to raise that away from 0 even more. But let's check negative 200. And then lift of nothing. And trims are always negative 1 to 1. And 0, 0 on the second data ref. Put that there. Give it a none. And the other one I wanted to change to a drag rotate is the flaps. It's a toggle. CB flap. Oh, circuit breaker. Yep, there we go. Here we go. So let's look. There's the flap handle. Okay, we'll change that to a drag rotate. And there's the translation.
rotation is 100. At 0, and at 1 it's 0. At 0 it's at negative 63, so I'm going to give it negative 63. Maybe backwards, but we'll check it. And then 0 the lift, and then 0 to 1, 0, 0. That ratio. And none. Okay, now let's reload and see what we got. So we've done elevator trim, flaps, and we've slowed down the lights, and we've slowed down the throttle, and we've sped up the feather cover. So we're going to check all those things right now. Again, I've scooted back in my chair, so I'm going to pop up in a seated back position. Have to reload here. Okay. This, much better, obviously. Like I said it would be. This, oh yeah, much better. Like I said it would be. Throttle is money. Look at that. Check each one. Those are money in the bank. Okay. What were we doing? Oh, elevator trim. Okay, so first off, it's backwards. Second of all, you can see it's still way too fast. Okay, elevator trim's backwards. Flaps, also backwards, although the speed feels about right. Okay, so just like I thought, it's going to be backwards on the flaps. So where it was negative 63, I can go to 63. Now it won't be backwards anymore. And on the trim, I have it at negative 200. I know that it's backwards, so 200 would give it. I also know that it's way too fast. I'm actually going to make this 2000. Let's see where we're at. Okay. A lot of times, like I said, trims are kind of weird. A lot of times you have to go into the thousands on the speed to get it to feel like you're moving it with your hand. It needs to rotate slowly. It needs to rotate like when you hit one of those little circular knobs. When you hit one of those little circular ball knobs on the circular lever, you want it to go with your hand like that. You see that? Boom. That is what you want. You want it to feel real. You grab it and you twist it, and it's going to be real. It's going to go at the speed you want it to be. Flaps are now working correctly. Now, I'm going to add some detents real quick. We're going to close with this. This is the last thing we'll do. You know how to do everything else, okay? The last thing we'll do is we'll add some detents. And detents are clicks in your VR controller. So I see that I have a space where I would feel a click right here. You'd feel it in the real aircraft. You would go down and you'd feel a click. Then you'd go down to the bottom and you'd feel a click. So there's 3 positions. So this is 0 on the data ref. In the middle would be 50 on the data ref, and down at the bottom would be 1 on the data ref, right? So I'm going to put some detents, 1 at the 50 spot, and you're going to feel a click in your VR controller, and 1 down at the bottom. Now at the top and bottoms already, because it's a drag rotate at the tops and bottoms, there's a nice little thunk, but I want a click thunky thing in the middle too, because if there were more clicks, then I would put them in other logical spots. Like say there were 2 clicks in the middle and there was 4 positions on that thing, well then you would go at 0, 33, 66, and so you would have 2 detents in the middle to have the 2. This one's only got 1, so I'll do it at 0 and I'll do it at 50. So you'll see what I'm talking about. So all that's done in the cockpit OBJ. So I'm going to open up the cockpit OBJ, and trying to do this from memory. So let's first go to search, find, flap. Okay, and not the circuit breaker for it. We want the flaps. Here we go. So right after my drag rotate, there's a manip wheel. Okay, this manip wheel is like if you use your mouse wheel to do it. It does it in steps of 0.33, which obviously would be 3 clicks to go all the way to 1. Right after that, right before the tries, I'm going to give it what's called an axis detent range. Okay, I'm going to type in, I think it's ATTR underscore axis underscore detent underscore range. And then you give it some range values, and then you give it like a lift value. So let me show you kind of how this works. So I'm going to do one from 0 to 0.49. And then I'm going to say 0.5. 0.5 is supposedly how hard it clicks in your, the higher the number here, the harder it clicks in your VR controller. Although I haven't really noticed a difference from 4.5 and higher. So I just like to use 0.5 because that's what I use. You could use a different one. You could use 1, but you're not going to get much more velocity in your click. You'll get less velocity if you go under 0.5, but 0.5 is a good sweet spot for me. So what you want to do is you're creating a range for the detent. So at 0.49, when you hit 0.49 on your data ref, it's gonna click. And I also want one, I want to make like a pit, okay? So I'm gonna do another one here. Axis, detent, range. And I'm gonna go 0.49 to 0.51. So that's a 0.02 pit where there's gonna be kind of a click. Okay, so it's gonna feel like it clicks into a spot and then it clicks out of the spot. All right, it's a nice little effect. And then attr axis detent range, and then you have to finish it out. You have to go from 0.51 to 1. All right, so that's going through the 0 to 1 on your data ref. 0 to 0.49, it's gonna click at 0.49 at a 0.5 velocity, and then it's gonna click through from 0.49 to 0.51. It's going to click again at 0.51 at a 0.5 velocity, and then you have to close it out all the way to the end of the data ref, 0.51 to 1 with a 0.5 velocity. Now that should give you some nice clickage going on. So I know you won't be able to feel it in this video, but I'll be able to tell you if that worked or not. So I've saved it, and I'm going to reload the aircraft, and I'll go back and I'll feel it, and if those worked, then we are good to go. You can add those clicks to any lever you want. If on your prop lever, if you see that it's got some detents in it visually, then you can add those clicks in there, and those clicks will be there. It's really cool. It's a really neat thing. So I'll come here. Yep, and I've got a nice little click in my VR controller right there. And it literally, because I've set the pit in there, it feels like it's clicking in and out of a position. It's really neat. And then it's clicking down, and there we go. And I think we are good to go. I'm going to do one final check here of everything that we had going on. The only thing I don't have, oh, this was the wipers. I forgot about this little knob. Let's see, wipers on, wipers off, wipers on, wipers off. Yeah, that's nice. Yep, that's nice. Okay. So there's 2 things going on. I haven't been able to fix the command knob velocity on my GPS for some reason. I think it may be that those need to be first in the VR config. I've had that happen before where I need those to be at the very top. For some reason, if they get buried in the bottom, these GPS knobs don't like to actually obey their vrconfig command. The other thing is, this yoke will crash to desktop right now if I do it in realistic mode. Right now I'm in ergonomic mode, and I can do my thing. I could set my sensitivity much lower, and it would be better. I can latch to it, and everything's fine with it. If I set it to realistic mode, it crashes to desktop. I have to send this off to Laminar and have them kind of figure out what's going on there, because I've hacked away at it for hours and hours and hours trying to figure out what's going on, and I can't. I've even got the developer involved. He's tried to figure out what's going on. He can't figure it out, so at this point we're kind of at an impasse to give it to Laminar. So for now, if you're a VR controller flyer and you want to fly this aircraft, the only way to do it without crashing to desktop is ergonomic mode.
or you could use your yoke and actually fly with your hardware yoke. So let's do one thing real quick before we close out. We're gonna check those GPS knobs. I'm gonna move them up to the top of the VR config, and we're gonna see if that doesn't just fix it all. We'll put them right underneath the hotspots. Paste, save. But outside of that, this thing is good to go, and I feel like I can release this as a mod, and I hope you guys learned some stuff. And I know you probably did. I know you probably have questions. Feel free to hit me up on Discord and ask all the questions you want. I'm totally willing to teach. Yep, that didn't help. So I'll figure that out. Hopefully before I release it, but even if not, I'll go ahead and release it, and I'll just put in a disclaimer. I usually put in my SimVRlabs things, it's like, things that are still not working and still chasing down some bugs, but I'll go ahead and get it out to you guys so you guys can start flying and enjoy it. When you want to set things on the GPS, you just have to be real. It's real sensitive. You can do it. It's just it's real sensitive right now. Hopefully I can tune that up a little better with the cockpit OBJ. Hope you guys learned some stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out, and this is the last part of this tutorial. Again, hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on the Threshold Club, hit me up on Discord. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have any questions. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thanks.